What we've got here is...
The I Just Saw podcast. Welcome to your favorite uncut, uncensored, spoiler-filled podcast of movie reviews. I'm your host, Matt Brando. I just saw Dunkirk. Monday night, screening 7 o'clock. Dunkirk, Christopher Nolan's latest release in his excellent track record of creating good films. Chris Nolan is a great director, a genius, a fantastic writer. You've heard this a million times. I'm beating a dead horse. He bends your mind with each and every picture he makes. Is Dunkirk well made? Yes. Is this movie good? Yeah. Did I like it? No. I'll explain. The film starts off with mute soldiers, and they're not really mute the whole film, but it's starts off literally, and then it's kind of a figurative thing. Don't worry, I'll get into this. So, mute soldiers, action sequence. They try to get off of Dunkirk. They don't. Repeat. For an hour 46. Maybe an hour 40. 6 minutes of credits. Maybe 5-minute resolution scene at the end. So, 131. If that's the correct math. I'm not a mathematician. I'm a chaotician. I'm so tired. For screenwriting, there are 2 ways to get to know your characters. A, you get a setup of them for about 12 or 10 minutes in the beginning. You see their problems, and after that 10 or 12 minutes, you thrust them into action, and it starts the plot, and it starts the movie. Or option B, they're already into their action from the start of the film, from minute 1 or 0, and then you learn about them along the way. This film is a new and third option, where you never get to know them at all. You kind of just go along for the ride with them. These pretty much mute characters. And I did not like this ride. At Lord Nihilus, I have Twitter questions. I tweeted, if you follow me, at Michael Man on Twitter. I asked you guys to ask me questions, and I can answer them in the podcast. And I got some questions, and I pretty much can answer almost all of them. So at Lord Nihilus asks, I'd just like to know if the action scenes are good. Yes, they are good. The gunplay in the skies is the greatest. Between the pilots, you got Tom Hardy and some blonde guy, and then you got the Nazis, the planes bombing the shit out of all the boats and stuff and the beaches. Honestly, the gunplay in the sky is only the real action scenes I kind of count. I don't really count some of the couple of boat escapes as really, action. I don't count bombs going off on the beach as action, because they're kind of like defenseless, Shit happens, and I guess you can count that as action, but I don't. Usually for me, it's a 2-sided event. That's how I see it. 2 people can fight. The T-1000 chases the fucking T-800 and T-2. That's action, because the T-800 is battling back. So, but if you count, them bombing the shit out of the beaches and stuff, yeah, that's action. Okay, but yeah, I guess that's good. But honestly, the gunplay in the skies is the best. This film is a theater experience. If you bootleg it, you're cutting yourself really short. It's a very loud movie. Honestly, though, it is too loud for me, at least. I feel like I might have maybe sensitive hearing, but I wanted to cover my ears for most of, or at least some of the action. Hacksaw Ridge was the same way. Once that film really kicked off with the explosions and shit in that valley or wherever that was, that ridge, I felt like I wanted to cover my ears for that too. It was just way too loud. It was just mixed, way too loud. Or maybe we're just going deaf as a society. At John Williams 011, is the cinematography good? Yes. The aspect ratio is not 2:3:5, which is odd because I think almost all of Chris Nolan's films are like 2:3:5, and then if he has the IMAX footage interlaid, it's 16:9. Even though if you go to see it in IMAX, it's the raw aspect ratio of like 4:3-ish. But the actual cinematography aspect, besides aspect ratio, is well shot, well lit. It's pretty well shot for, a 16:9 or wider, or taller, I should say, 4:3 aspect ratio. The film is well lit for, nighttime, because for film, it's hard to light up a scene at night. It's far easier for digital to light up a night sky or etc. That's why Michael Mann has switched to digital. Night skies look better compared to film. It's fucking hard to do. So the director for Dunkirk did a great job. It nearly looks digital. And seeing the movie on the big screen, you can kind of see like the grain and that aesthetic that kind of makes it look vintage, like transporting you into this world of Dunkirk. And did a good job with that. Editing was something that really stood out for me. It's fantastic. Nolan and the editor did a really great job of letting the film breathe with longer shots and takes of things by a couple seconds rather than like this rapid fire editing we see in movies nowadays. I just rewatched the original Planet of the Apes. This film's like pretty much a masterpiece. I've been watching also a lot of films like the 50s and 60s, and editors and directors, they didn't have to get like 10 shots of one thing. They kind of, let the scene play out and breathe. So Dunkirk gets it right when cutting the movie and the action versus today's latest film offerings. At Dakota W. Barber 21 asks, how is the music by Zimmer? The score is good. It's very tense. Score is supposed to supplement or accompany what's going on the screen. And he does a great job at this. However, I don't love it enough as his previous Nolan works, where I listen to in my own spare time from time to time, like Inception, Interstellar, and of course the brilliant Dark Knight trilogy music, which is some of my favorite scores of all time. And Dark Knight Rises is in my top 10 favorites to listen to. But here in Dunkirk, it's just ticking time bomb representations. That's all I really remember. I don't see myself listening to the soundtrack like I would his other Nolan collabs. So in a sense, for the movie, it's good. It does its job. As far as good enough to listen to outside the movie, I say I wouldn't. At Russell Cook 17 is really nervous about Harry Styles' performance in the film. How did it work out? It worked out well. He did okay. I mean, he's not an actor. You're not going to get a Tom Hanks performance from the dude. Tom Hanks worked his ass off for years to become what he is today, and that is one of the greatest actors alive. So if Harry wants to transition into Hollywood, keep practicing, because that's how Tom Hanks did it. Jordan Nino Duke asks, how was Tom Hardy's performance? He was alright. The performances here weren't mind-boggling. You're not going to leave the theater saying, this person or that person was great as an individual performance, but rather as like a collective whole. It's a good thing and a bad thing, because you want performances that are good from everybody. But at the same time, you never knew anyone. So yeah, this is a well-made film. But does that make a film great? Technical stuff is only one side or aspect of films. And maybe sometimes we overvalue this. I go into films first and foremost as a writer and then an editor, because I think my mind has evolved from like technical director to like actor to writer editor. And I feel like maybe writing and editing is my niche, or at least that's how my brain is programmed now, and it works well for it. But criticism is not criticism if you cannot communicate, explain, or synthesize your reasons why you do or do not like a piece of art. So this film has a different approach than the previous Nolan films. There's a lack of dialogue between characters, and usually that's where we get to know them. But it's odd because a film made by, say, Terrence Malick, who's evolved into a guy who has a very dreamy state for his films. He has characters. They might not say much in the scenes. They might be mute, but he supplements with a narration voiceover, turning his films into poems. But here for Dunkirk, there's nothing like that. It's mostly just images and sounds. You know, we see the action and that's about it. Mute characters. In Dunkirk, there is really nobody to attach to. It's this huge spectacle where you're just thrown into the shit and you're just along the journey. My friend Joe said it was like a planetarium visit, which I agree, but if I had to add in my own analogy, honestly, it's this film is like an IMAX fan preview event. You know, the ones where you go see like 15 minutes of Transformers 5 as a preview for the fans. And then they give you a free poster at the end, or maybe like a ticket to see the movie or some shit, just to hype yourself up for the release. So that's what it was like for me for Dunkirk. It ended. I'm thinking like, where was the movie? It's wash, rinse, repeat. Someone sees something off screen, squints at it, gets all googly-eyed. People take cover, bombs go off from Nazi planes, repeat. Soldiers get on a boat, boat goes down. They swim off in the ocean, repeat. Imagine if Guardians of the Galaxy 2 never had ego at all, like nothing. Say it was just them fighting evil things, like the obelisks, or how you pronounce them, for 2 hours. No bickering or bantering between them, none of the sister rivalry shit. Just repeating the same actions over and over again. Just chores. That's what I can pronounce this as, or express this as, this film. It's just chores. That's what Dunkirk was like for me. I saw a comment somewhere on the internet that said, well, Chris Nolan said it was his intention that you're not supposed to know these people. Therefore, you can't criticize that or take points off. What if I saw a film with a guy throwing a baby in a dumpster and then he lit the dumpster on fire? Oh, was the director's intentions for this to happen because I saw it in an interview and he said that? Therefore, you can't dislike it? Come on, son. I connect to a movie through the people on screen. The more you can tie the audience with the picture is how I work. That's how I immerse myself with or into a film. So Dunkirk, well directed. Dunkirk, well made. Dunkirk lacked that emotional tie for me. There's a kid in the film that looks like Ty Sheridan. What's your name? Mud. Now, I'm not going to spoil it completely, but something dramatic happens with him, and it's a serious moment. But I laughed because I felt like it wasn't earned. And what do I mean by that? I mean screenwriting-wise. The beat wasn't earned. So when that happened, I was like, really? Okay. A side note also, notice how I didn't really say specifically what went down. Yeah, this is a spoiler review. But I've seen a trend that's not a good one. I've seen people who have regular non-spoiler reviews, but say way too much. An example being, I watched this review for Wish Upon, and in the title and or thumbnail, it said spoiler-free review. But then the reviewer ended up saying that there's a cameo in the movie, and then said the actor's name for the cameo. And this person also said two of Joey King's wishes, I believe, or something along the lines of that, revealing, you know, something unbeknownst to the public. I feel that with like a lot of these non-spoiler reviews I watch or read, they just reveal too much. Plot, surprises. And I've been finding myself not watching reviews at all before movies I really want to see. I don't want to know more than I need to know. I even skip trailers sometimes, like Blade Runner. I skipped all the Spider-Man Homecoming reviews because I skipped all the Spider-Man Homecoming reviews before watching Homecoming. So that's why I put the warning up there, because there's a blurred line in reviews nowadays, whether video or written. Because even I saw a written review for like a newspaper online for War of the Planet of the Apes, and it spoiled the ending without even writing a spoiler warning in the title or anywhere in the newspaper article. So how's that for class? So I'm going to try to give you some of that here. The Tell That to Kanja Club guy is in the movie. I do not know his name, but it ended up being a funny riff between my friends and I. We kept doing it, mostly me. Tell That to Kanja Club after the movie ended. It's kind of shitty because that guy's probably going to be stuck with that the rest of his life. It was like a typecast type deal. Poor dude. At Lord Nihilus asks he would like to know if the short run time is good enough. Yeah. The film feels like a 2-hour plus movie for me. Like, shit. It's not a good thing for me, for my viewing experience, because that rinse repeat cycle and no connection to the characters. Because of this repetition, it felt like over 240. You have, you know, multiple timelines or time travel. It's like the same thing we've seen from Nolan. And I don't know, it's kind of exhausting. It's tiresome as a film to begin with, just to make it non-linear again. I don't know, man. It's exhausting as a film goer of Nolan and a fan of his. At Dank115 asks, the tone of the movie, was it one of somber and hopelessness, or more of a hope and triumphant feeling? Throughout the film, it's very somber, despair, you know, hopelessness. Because you see the same shit over and over again, which is failure. And it's not till the very end, say the last 5-minute scene montage, that you really get a sense of like hope and triumph. And I guess I do appreciate this film being through like British soldiers rather than through American, because we've seen just a shit ton of American war movies. I mean, come on, when the fuck was the last British war film? I mean, 1957, you know, Bridge. I mean, I don't know. I haven't really seen many big releases of British told or perspective war films. So, something that was new that I liked, I guess. John Williams 011 again asks, is this the best war movie since Saving Private Ryan? No. My favorites as ones I think are the best also, I would say, since Ryan was Ryan, Black Hawk Down, Fury, I really liked Fury, and 13 Hours, I really liked 13 Hours. Those are the best war movies I think of like the past 2-ish decades, and I think American Sniper gets an honorable mention. That's a good one too. I don't own it. I don't like it enough to buy it and own it, but it's pretty good. My boy Jay Jurassic asks, is it better than Interstellar? If so, in what ways? And then just tying into the rankings I also have from Jake Rhodes and Daniel Findura. So Jake asks, how'd you rank this in Nolan's other films? And then Daniel asks, is this the best Nolan movie ever or one of his best? So Jay first. I would say that it's better made than Interstellar, but I prefer Interstellar because I had an emotional connection to the protagonist Cooper. Here, I did not. There is no singular protagonist to latch onto. I thought that this was his second worst film, but I actually double checked and I gave Following a higher grade than Dunkirk does. So I'm actually going to say, this is for me personally, for my own shits, this is the worst one for me. Because I've seen a lot of shit that's like, oh, this is Nolan's best film. I'm like, okay. Well. I mean, I'm a Chris Nolan fan. And I think 90% of Chris Nolan fans will love it. I think regular moviegoers that don't give a shit about Nolan might not. They might give it probably like a 60%-ish approval rating. I don't know. So I really can't say from the bottom of my heart that you might like it, because there's a 10% chance you might not. Just remember, I told you so. So, y'all know my grading scale on 10 for IMDb, which is I use. For my last review, Spider-Man Homecoming, I don't want to see Dunkirk again. Even more so because it's definitely a theater experience. Was it a well-directed film? Yes. Did I connect to any of the characters? No. Did I immerse myself in the experience because of this? I did not. Therefore, did I like the movie? I did not. I'm giving Dunkirk a 4, man. Thank you everyone for the questions. I tried to answer all of them. I pretty much did. Every time I see a movie early like this, I'll try to do this on Twitter. Ask you guys if you want me to answer, and then you guys are interested in anything I'm seeing, I can throw that up on Twitter. I only watched my friend Chris's review on YouTube. It was fair. I watched Jeremy Johns, who I do not know personally, but he seems like a cool dude, and I thought that was almost the same thoughts I had. So thank you very much for listening. Yeah, I'm sorry I couldn't really stretch this out longer. It's just that I just did not enjoy the movie that much. I don't know when the next one I'll see is, but until next time, my friends, thank you for listening. One love. Peace out. Yeah.
End of line.
Good luck and congratulations on choosing
CR Press.
Regret to have the American ambassador expelled after the incident. The U.S. State Department responded quickly with a formal apology